Welcome back to another video. In this video, we're going to talk about the investment tool. So we're going to jump into Billy and Sally's plan. And to start off, let me just point out that they have already got a plan. What they don't have is they haven't built any investments. So the best, easiest way to add investments is to link your accounts. But in this video, I want to do a quick just example of adding manual accounts. So let's say this is Billy's Robinhood account, if I can get that to populate. And let's just say that in this account, Billy's got $100,000. So now we're going to customize his asset allocation. What we're really going to use this tool for, the investment tool, and I'll show you this in just a minute. Once we have an investment account, I want to show you how we use asset allocation and tweaking of asset allocation to move the needle on your overall financial plan, specifically your retirement analysis. So we're going to take a look at that in just a minute. But for now, we just have to set up an account. So we set up Billy's Robinhood account with $100,000. And now we can go through and we can indicate, since we're doing this manually, we can go in and indicate how we want to allocate the assets in this account. So the asset allocation is the number one most powerful determinant of a portfolio's returns or results. So it's critically important. It's one of the things we do as financial advisors, investment advisors, to help make sure that you're taking advantage of the best asset allocation in all of your accounts. In Billy's case, we could customize it and we could go into each of these major asset classes and indicate what percentage we want to have. Or we can use one of the portfolios that I've pre-built into the financial planning software. So I would encourage you to take a few minutes in your plan and just play around with these different strategies and take a look at what happens to the asset allocation when you select a different one. For example, a 40-60 ETF means it's 40% what's this green stuff? 40% bonds. So 40-60, 60% equities, and those equities are spread out over international, large cap US equities and so on. And you can see that as you go through these. So what happens if we go to a 50-50? That's 50% bonds, 50% equities, 50% equities, and you can see how it allocates, this model, how it allocates against different asset classes. So it's very helpful if you'll spend a few minutes and just play with these kind of pre-built portfolios. And so what if we went to a 90-10? That's 90% equities and only 10% bonds. So that's a much more aggressive one. What would that do to Billy's results moving forward? Billy's a pretty young guy, but I'm going to leave it at balanced right now. I'm going to hit save. So his $100,000 Robinhood account is set up currently to be balanced. Remember, we clicked on the balanced portfolio. So that's what we've got. Now let's add another account. Let's do an investment account for Sally, and let's call it Sally's IRA. So that means we got to click on this type of account and make sure we tell the computer that we're dealing with a traditional IRA or a rollover. That's what we're looking for. So we're going to put in, let's just say, to keep it easy, $100,000 in this account, and let's customize it. Now we could customize it and just say that, let's just say that it's all cash. So it's all cash. We've got other, so I've got to delete that. I have to hit save, and it says other, 0, so we'll hit save. Now hopefully you're thinking, that's not a great idea to have 100% of your IRA invested in cash, and it's not. But we're going to see how that changes things moving forward as we tweak it. So we've got Sally's IRA, we've got Billy's taxable Robinhood account. Let's go ahead and give Billy an investment account, and let's call it Billy's Roth IRA. We'll talk about the Roth IRA. It's the only tax-free investment type of account there is. So it's a great type of account to consider investing in. We'll call it a Roth or a Roth rollover. It is included in the plan. It is Billy's. And let's just say, for simplicity, that Billy has $100,000. How lucky is Billy to have $100,000 in a tax-free Roth IRA? And let's give him a portfolio instead of, let's do conservative. So it's going to be a very conservative portfolio, and I'll show you why the conservative portfolio may not serve Billy well in the future. So now that we've added the three accounts, Billy's Robinhood account, Billy's Roth IRA account, and Sally's traditional IRA, tax-deductible IRA, now we're going to jump into the investment tool, and we're going to take a look at what's going on. So when we look at all of the accounts, notice the drop down here, we can select each of these individual accounts. Billy's account is pretty conservative, right? And Sally's IRA is 100% cash. And Billy's Roth IRA, I think we already did that one, Billy's Robinhood account. So there you see. Now, over here we have, you can't change the target allocation, but that's what we're looking at now. So in the action, this is what it would take. This action items is what it would take to get Billy and Sally's accounts to allocate according to their target allocation. So if you're interested in seeing that, that's interesting. Also, just if you want to go a little deeper, this is helpful to understand. We have sector and style, and you can see how this entire portfolio, all of the accounts combined, are allocated according to these equity sectors. So this is just the equities. It's not the fixed income or cash, but it's the sectors. So if you think about the S&P 500 being the top 500 companies in the world, they're broken out into 11 sectors, the S&P 500 or the SPY, and these are the sectors. So that's interesting, I think. And then you can also see concentration. So we'll play with that later. At the end of, well, not in this video, but we're going to be talking about tax allocation soon. That'll be another video. But I just wanted to show you that this portfolio has 100% of taxable assets, and then we have tax deferred assets of 100,000, and then 112,000 of tax-free assets. So that's tax allocation. We're going to talk about that in another video, but for now we're looking at investments. And so let's see what can happen with this tool. If you go over to detail, by the way, it shows anything that's overweight. So in this case, we've got way too much cash because all of Sally's IRA is in cash. So in order for us to fix that, this action items gives you a pretty good hint about what we might want to do. We would increase Sally's exposure or her allocation to U.S. equities. We would take $61,000 from her cash and put it into equities. And you can see the other asset allocation recommendations there. So that's a good place to look. Now let's jump over to retirement. So now to wrap things up, let's just jump into the retirement analysis, and let's just use the investment tool for one specific reason. Let's see if we can move the needle by changing the asset allocation. So we scroll down from the retirement analysis tab down into action items, and just asset allocation, that's all we're going to change. So let's see what happens if we go from this conservative, from current to conservative, and hit refresh. In this plan, it gives it a 4% increase in probability. Now I got to tell you, I switched plans, took a little break there. I'm not in Billy's plan anymore, but I just picked a plan that I'm playing with here, and in this case all I'm doing is changing the asset allocation. When I hit refresh, now we went to moderate, and that gave us a 41% probability of success just from asset allocation. If we go to let's go to growth and see what happens when we refresh. You have to refresh every time. A 55% probability of success. So again, in this video, we just wanted to highlight the investment tool and how you can use it to tweak your plan by adjusting your asset allocation. Remember, when it comes to investment strategies, and we covered 4 of them recently, the 4 investment strategies we covered: number 1, diversification; number 2, asset allocation, which is the most powerful determinant of your portfolio's returns. And we talked about dollar cost averaging and portfolio rebalancing. So in this case, we just tweaked the asset allocation. I hope you'll go back and just look at the asset allocation tool, the investment tool, play around with it, play around with your asset allocation, and just get an idea what happens when you're willing to take a little risk. Over time, the returns significantly improve the probability of success in your plan. So thanks for watching this video. I'll see you next time. And don't forget, we're going to be talking about tax allocation soon. So we've got asset allocation today, but we're going to be talking about tax allocation soon. So asset allocation is important, but tax allocation is also very important, and we'll be covering that very soon. So thanks for watching this video. We'll talk to you soon.